Hey, what's up? I hope you're starting the new year fresh and energized. And today I wanted to answer one of the common questions that you guys are sending to me. So here after pawn e4, pawn e5, and knight to f3, we usually analyze the main line knight to c6. But if you're playing this formation as white, definitely you gotta be ready for the other option of black as well, which is knight to f6. And this may lead to either Petrov's defense after you accept this pawn on e5, or very often black transitions to the Stafford Gambit, knight to c6, which is an extremely dangerous opening variation if you aren't familiar with it, because here, after knight takes and pawn recaptures, black opens up a lot of lines for their quick attack, and again, if you aren't familiar with it, you can easily get in trouble. So today I found a really cool variation that will help you to trick those tricksters. Instead of playing knight takes e5, you're gonna play pawn d4, which is already unpleasant for black, because you're showing to them that you aren't after the material, you much rather prefer to attack black. Okay, now since you're threatening to capture this pawn, black will usually either capture this pawn with their own pawn or this pawn with the knight. Taken with a pawn may feel a little bit uncomfortable because you can push it forward and attack their knight. We're going to take a look at this in a second. But before that, let's dive into the variation knight takes e4, which is actually the main line. And here, we're going to play a provocative move, pawn takes e5. Because at this point, I mean, that's just a normal position, of course. If black does something standard, you can also develop their bishop, attack the knight, castle, and all the standard stuff. But very often your opponent will notice that there is a nice attacking move, bishop to c5, which looks very advantageous. You know, it attacks this pawn twice, and it's not very clear how can white actually defend it. But you've got another shocking move. We completely ignore this threat, and we play bishop to c4. It looks like you're playing this move out of desperation. You couldn't figure out how to defend the pawn, so you're just at least wanting to develop. And now if bishop takes f2, strangely enough, that is already a losing mistake for black. Can you believe that? So that's why this variation is so effective. So bishop f2 looks like it checks the king, forces it to move, wins the pawn. What more can black hope for? But again, that's a losing mistake after king goes over here to f1. It turns out that you have a very strong threat of queen coming here to d5. And it turns out that black's entire position is kind of shaky. After queen to d5, you're going to threaten queen takes f7 checkmate. This knight on e4 will be under the attack, so as the bishop on f2. And black just can't really hold on to all this material, and it starts to fall apart. After black plays castling or basically whatever, you're going to play queen to d5, and black realizes that they just can't remove both of their pieces simultaneously. If they move the knight away, well, actually it has no squares to go to anyway, so you're going to win the knight. And then this bishop is going to be under an attack. So let's say they play bishop to b6, you just win a knight. That's it, for free. And moreover, actually after that you're going to continue your attack because you have a more active position anyway. Although you're already up material, you have an extra knight. So you can play the bishop g5, attack this queen. It's a little bit of a wrong error, but anyway, you can play bishop d3, attack along this diagonal. You know, you can play knight to g5, and your knight and queen will team up against this pawn. So you have a lot of opportunities, and on top of all that, you have an extra piece. In this critical position, it's actually a lot better for black to take on f2 with their knight instead of the bishop. Bishop takes f2 is a losing mistake, although it's hard to realize it. Knight takes f2 is a lot better, and here we still exploit the weakness of the f7 square, but this time with bishop takes f7 tactics. So king takes allows us to play queen to d5 with a double attack to the king and the bishop. That's where we're winning back some of our material. And here, although Stockfish says that king g6 is a great option, of course for a human being it's hard to play such a move. It's much more natural to move the king back to e8. And then it's actually once again a losing mistake. But even with the best move king g6, it only gives black an equal game at the end. But our move here will be bishop to g5. It turns out, strangely enough, that this queen on d8 is nearly trapped. We're attacking it. The only way to cover it would be to bring the bishop back to e7, but then leaves this knight on f2 undefended. So we can trade on e7, queen takes, and then we pick up this knight on f2. And right now the material balance is equal, but your position is actually completely dominant. Let's not forget that black's king has already moved. It moved back and forth here, and therefore it can't castle. It's gonna stuck in the middle of the board. And black can't develop normally anyway, because if black ever wants to play d6, you know, and somehow develop their bishop, that will always backfire badly, because after you take, that opens up this e-file for your rook, and you're gonna crush it completely here, winning a lot of material, or checkmating black's king. In this position, another option of black, besides taking this pawn, would be to capture the other pawn on d4, which allows for your free pawn to go forward and to attack this knight. And as it moves somewhere, let's say knight to d5 is the most common move, although it's actually wrong, we then get our pawn back with a tempo attacking this knight. Now here your opponents usually play the other second best move, pawn to c6, which defends the knight, that's right, but it takes away the square from the other knight, so it cannot be developed anytime soon. And now you have a very comfortable advantage, so you go bishop c4, basically you have the free development and black is kind of stuck, especially it's difficult for them to develop their queenside pieces, which are just out of the game for often the rest of the game. So bishop c4 creates the threat of just capturing over here, winning the knight. If they go back, I mean, you don't even need to care about the bishop. You may allow an exchange and just to castle. Black's biggest problem is that they're underdeveloped and they're completely stuck there. It's difficult for them to finish their development normally. And after just a few more moves, you're ready to transition into a powerful attack. So let's say something like knight takes c4, queen takes c4. Now we have a perfect situation where black is completely underdeveloped, although we're already into the game with some moves. Let's say bishop to e7, and since you're already way ahead in development, you can transition into the attack, for example with the move queen to g4, attacking this pawn on g7, and black's already in trouble, probably already having a losing position. For example, if black castles, we play bishop to h6, taking advantage of this pin, so the pawn cannot move, and we're threatening queen takes g7 checkmate. What can black do? They can't move their bishop to defend it, because this square is under the control. If not, what else? Probably they'll have to play the move pawn to g6, giving up the material here, and even after that their position is still clumsy, and you should be completely winning here. And if you want to achieve your chess goals in 2023, then I've got good news for you. I'm receiving a lot of messages from you guys saying that you missed on our New Year special offers, and I understand that we all are busy around this time of the year, so I've decided to extend our special offers for a few more days, but that'll be the only and the final extension, so don't miss out on this one. You can click the link below the video and get any of our premium course at a massive discount, often up to 80% discount. Also, 4 lucky winners will be getting the Super Pack, which is the collection of all of the courses I've ever created during my lifetime for free, so we're giving away more than $6,000 in value. And on top of that, for everybody buying a course from the 25th of December up to the 4th of January, we're going to give away a free bonus, my book Champion Psychology, because around this time of the year, we're often coming up with new goals, new ambitions, so I thought that it may be helpful. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video as well as having a great time overall. Take care. Talk soon.